Audio's not muted now.
Why are you muting audio?
I don't know. Fucking, I was testing that earlier. Hold on. I set up the hotkey to mute it, but evidently if you press it again, it doesn't unmute it. So let's fix that. Ah, yeah, you have to have an unmute key. We'll make that.
Yeah, I'm sitting there. Why?
Okay, so as some of you all saw in Justice stream, I've got an iPad Air 2 that absolutely hates me. I've done everything that I can think possible. I've checked all the lines that everyone's told me to check. I even checked the lines that Jessa told me to check in stream. I've replaced the charging port, as you can see. That was the first thing we did. I've replaced that 3 times now. I'm 120% sure that's soldered correctly. None of my pads were lifted. Nothing was odd about it. I've replaced TriStar up here. We cut away the outer edging here. Not really necessary, but it gives you more space to work. I've checked everything here. Everything seems okay. Let me find my tweezers. There's a capacitor missing right there, but it shouldn't matter. It's just on the same line as other capacitors. We've got one up here that's also knocked off, but the symptoms haven't changed even when that was present. So this one looks kind of weird, so I went ahead and removed it just to make sure. I may put one back. So the battery sense line that she was talking about earlier, it comes from the battery over here on this pin that's under the connector. It runs up and over to this resistor here and this resistor here. One of these resistors is a 0 ohm resistor. It just goes straight through. And the other resistor down here is bridged between the BAT VCC line and I believe the regular line. Let me see. I've got it set up now. I'm going to be able to switch in between my schematic and the view that I have on my screen. Let me get to the page with the charging. I'll go ahead and switch that over if I can remember what the hotkeys are. Alright, now it should be on the schematic view. I'll wait and see once stream catches up. Okay, so it is working. Sweet. Okay, so I'm going to go down here. They've got it different on this schematic. It's separate from the main PMU section. They put it off in its own little section down here where it's just charging. There it is. So this whole section on the schematic here is just for charging. If we zoom in on this, we can see okay, thank you, email. We can see all the different lines here. So the battery sense line here comes through this 0 ohm resistor, and it's got a resistor in between the BAT VCC line and the sense line. That resistor there allows voltage to come up, which I assume that either this is a current sense line or possibly a data line. I'm not sure, since it does have a resistor between BAT VCC and the actual battery. I would assume that they're the same, but who knows. The capacitor here is no stuff, and if you look on the board, we'll go back over to it real quick. If you look on the board, there is a spot where the capacitor should be. It's right in here. The capacitor is normally right there, but since it's no stuff in schematic, it's no stuff on the board. So, but you have your resistor here, which should be our 0 ohm resistor. I'll go ahead and disconnect it and measure those real quick. We'll disconnect our charger, and I always place a pick under the board in between the battery connector. So you can see here, That way they don't make contact while you're working if you keep it in frame. So we'll go in and measure the resistance of this resistor. So that one is 0.3 ohms, which is the same resistance that my leads give me if I short them out. This gives me 0.3 ohms, so we know that's 0. And if I come down and measure this one, we get 400 or 0.499 or 0.496 kiloohms, which is 496 ohms. So those two meter correctly, and if we plug this back in, I'll put my screw in just to make sure. And Jessica was talking about aligning it under the scope. You can see that it's aligned. We'll put our screw in, make sure it's tight. Hey, Paul. How's everybody doing? Hey, we got 15. We picked up a few more people. So we're going to measure that battery sense line. It should meter what the battery is. That way that the power management unit can tell, or PMIC, whatever you want to call it, can tell what the battery is actually at and what current it's seeing. So currently the spot in between these resistors where it should be coming in is 3.79 volts. So it sees what battery voltage is. If I unplug my USB, which doesn't really matter at this point anyway, we can see over here, this is where the battery comes in, and that's 3.79 volts. So that's exactly what battery should be. Okay, so the other line she was talking about is the OVP low line, which I believe is overvolt protection. I believe that this line, based on how it looks, it should go high if it's bad and low if it's okay. Based on the schematic, it says that it should be low. I don't know if it's vice versa. If it is, that may be my issue the entire time. So if we come over here, we've got battery plugged in, we've got the charger plugged in, the iPad is on currently. If we meter, this is the resistor. I'll show that in the schematic so you all can see it. So let's see. So if we go over to overvolt protection switch enable low, we've got a 4.7 kilo ohm resistor here, R8846. You can see the capacitor here is a no stuff. So if we look on our board here, you've got no stuff on the output and on the input. And if you go over in the schematic, there's also another capacitor that's no stuff. But if we meter this line, it's reading 0 volts on this side, and then on the output side, it's metering 0.069 volts. So where that comes from is there's a pad, third pad up on this chip under TriStar, runs over through this resistor, and then it runs to a pad underneath the PMIC. So if somebody out there knows if that line's supposed to be high, I need to measure. I actually may do that. I've got an iPad Air 2 over here that charges. I want to check that one real quick. Can you hand me that one right there, Micah?
Which one?
That one.
This one?
Yeah, that iPad Air 2. I'm going to meter this line and see what it reads. So this iPad Air 2 is untouched. We pulled it. It had Wi-Fi issues. We've replaced the Wi-Fi module on it, but it's still acting weird. So we'll put this one in the board, or in the frame. Let me switch back over on my views. So I've added the option to switch back and forth between my views. Now I've got to make sure that I've always switched it. So we're going to plug in our board here, just like we do the other one. This one, however, when it's plugged in, even though it's booting currently, so the voltage dropped and now it's kicked back up whenever it boots. That's normal. So normally what you'll see is when you first plug it in, you'll get an amp spike, and it'll jump up to 1 point something amps or 2 amps, close to 2 amps. And then when it power cycles, when it goes to turn on, the voltage will drop out for a second, and then it'll come back up. So that's exactly what it did. So it's booting right now. It's pulling over an amp. So I want to check this resistor here to see if our overvolt protection is tripped or not. So I'm going to hold down the battery connector with my ground and my probe. So I'm reading 0 volts on this side and 0.069 on this side. So it's exactly the same that I'm reading on the other one. So we know our overvolt protection line is correct. It's reading what it should. I've already done a diode reading of all of these. The diode readings that read exactly the same of all the pins coming in on the charger. Let's do some investigation into possibly some other sense lines. So I'll switch back over to schematic. Okay, overall restrictions. See, that's what I thought, Paul, that it would kick in if it's low, but evidently it doesn't because it's reading low right now, and this one is charging. Like, it's pulling amperage right now. If it's the opposite way, I guess that's how it works. So let's switch back over to the schematic real quick. Just want to make sure it's switching. So we've checked overvolt protection. We've checked battery sense. What are the other lines? We also needed to check on the battery connector, the SWI line. So let's see if we can find that. I think it's one page down. So yeah. So on the Air 2, they changed this. On the Air 1, this connector just goes through a resistor and goes straight in. On this one, they've added a MOSFET that takes that signal in and only lets it through once it gets the 1V8 line. So that controller is actually, I'll switch back over here. That controller is actually right here. This is the MOSFET that does the switching. So I'm going to meter those around that and see if maybe we have a issue on those lines. So this resistor is the one that goes from the 1V8 over to the UART BAT underscore HDO. It reads 1.7 on this side, and it reads 1.7 on this side. We also have an input resistor, which I'm afraid I'm going to short on. Let me see if I can switch over here. So we're getting 2.3 volts on both sides. And I'm going to meter these caps. That one's reading 0 on both sides. This one's reading the same voltage as that resistor, which makes sense because that cap is prior to the resistor. So those are the voltages we should be looking for. We should be looking for 1.7 on both sides and then 2.3 or 2.4 on the other. So we'll come back over. And I hope that's what it is. I'm fairly confident I checked this already, but maybe I read it wrong, maybe I overlooked it. It happens. You don't have to be embarrassed to say that you're wrong. So this one reads 1.7 on this side. Reads 1.7 on this side. This capacitor reads nothing, as the other one did. This reads 2.283. This reads 2.283. And this capacitor reads the same, 2.283. So everything there is exactly the same. So I don't know what it is. It makes no sense to me what's causing this. I thought maybe my connections under this charge flex were bad, so I went through and I pressed down on all this. So when I pulled it, I checked all the pads. Everything's connected. Nothing's ripped there. I really don't want to have to pull it back off because I've already wasted several ports on it. I've replaced TriStar multiple times. Same exact results every time. Differential, but I don't think they're super specific. What are y'all? Let me see what y'all are talking about. Get my keyboard here. Sorry, it's hard to keep up with chat and look over. So, the programming variable names need to really avoid double negatives. Asshole using tiny MOSFETs when there is a field of space around it. It's shape of microgram. Yeah. It's not necessary. I think they use that because it's just available. They use the same size package on the iPhones that do the same
they
thing.
use the same parts bins.
Yeah, they share parts in between them.
Now the Macs are going to start using those parts bins too.
Aaron, what were you thinking that there's an open circuit? Because everything that I've metered is correct. So we'll go over these things real quick. Because I want everybody to see what I'm seeing here. I know you all can't see my meter, but I'll read off exactly what it says. I'm not going to lie to you about it. So right now, I've got battery plugged in and chargers plugged in. This is an MFI certified cable. We charge everything with these cables. They're actually really good. They're company's called Rav Power. I don't know if you can read it on stream. They sell them in 2 packs. They're fairly cheap. This cable's fucking crooked as shit. It shows you how much the fucking manufacturers of these really give a shit about anything like that. I also went through per Jessa's recommendation. I went ahead and reflowed all these to make sure we had good connections.
Hey there. I'm going to go grab that. It'll be 1:15:10. Get your sound out there for me. All right, there you go.
Okay.
Not a problem. You have a good day.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Alright, so I'm going to swap housings just to make sure it's not a battery issue. I've done this already once, but this was before I swapped TriStar and charging port about 7 million times. So we'll pull that board, make sure we're aligned here. We'll put our screw back in. And hope and pray that this fixes it and it was all the battery the whole time after I got done with everything. I hope this is trolling me because it's working. It hasn't booted yet, so I don't think it's on. Maybe just charging the battery right now. Let me hook up a screen to it and see what it's doing. If this is working, it's all Paul's fault. All Paul's fault. Paul did it. As Lewis says, it's Paul's fault. I have a sneaking suspicion that it is not booting, that it's actually just sitting at the charging logo, because it'll charge while it's off. But if it is charging for some reason now, I'm just going to cry myself to sleep, because I've been dicking with this thing forever. And I've done everything on the board. And I did try this before, but this was before I got my new TriStar chips in yesterday. And we swapped the batteries on these last time to make sure that it was not an issue with the battery. If I can fucking plug it in. Hopefully it's unmuted. Can you all hear me? Let me make sure. I'll switch over and check. Yeah, it's unmuted. Okay. The prefab buildings aren't a bad idea, Paul. They're cheap. You get plenty of space inside of them. Why don't you make the joke, Micah? Were you thinking about my mother again?
I was thinking about your mother.
It's not very nice, Micah.
She's pretty cheap. There's lots of room in there.
Yeah. Lots of room for somebody with such a tiny penis.
Oh.
You have to go to your profile and then select the image you want. It's through Google Plus. I'm pretty sure is how you change it.
You can change it on YouTube as well.
Oh, okay, you can change it on YouTube, evidently.
Yeah.
Mr. Know-It-All Micah over here knows. Oh, that's alright. What the fuck? Not getting any image at all right now. I know that's plugged in right. Let me double check this just to make sure. But yeah, that's plugged in. About fucking shorted the whole board out by dropping a screw on it. Alright. try this again. See what we get. Hopefully we get something. I got nada. Nada. No image, no backlight, no nothing. Still pulling 1.5 amps. That's odd. Let me meter this battery and see what voltage it's at. Safety squints engaged. I like AV stuff. He's a pretty funny guy. How you doing, Tar? So many sharp edges. Alright, so let's check this battery real quick and see what voltage it has. Make sure I'm not just fooling myself here. It's got 3.3 volts, so there's no way it's booting off that, and maybe not even getting an image on that. I thought it was booting earlier because it acted like it, but sometimes these batteries act weird if you plug them in and immediately start charging them or something, that they'll kind of fool TriStar into thinking that there's enough power to run on, and then it'll kind of shut itself off once it tries to boot up, and then it'll go back to the charging sequence. Let's check this again. Where's my pick? Which one, Zach? I replaced, I'll show you everything that I took off and replaced, because it still looks like shit because I got flux everywhere. This MOSFET I pulled and checked. I pulled this MOSFET and checked. We pulled TriStar and replaced it. I resoldered, or I put a new charge port on it 3 times now. TriStar's been done 4 times now. I pulled the resistors in here just to make sure that they were within spec. Out of circuit they were. I pulled this one to make sure it was within spec. Out of circuit, and it was. I'm trying to think if I pulled anything else. These 2 capacitors were off, but they've been off. I think that's about it. I don't think I've messed with anything else on it. Yeah, that capacitor, I lost it on the bench. It shot off into oblivion. But there's more capacitors on that rail, so I highly doubt that one would cause a no charge issue. Especially, I think it was on a line that wasn't directly tied to charging. Alex, she went over the lines that I had checked already. I went back and made sure that they were good because I've done so much to this thing I couldn't remember exactly which ones or what readings were what. Okay, so it's still not showing anything on screen, and that may be because the voltage is 3.3 volts. I know it works in the other housing because it'll boot up on that battery because that battery has almost 3.9 volts on it. Let me meter if the battery's charging to start with. It's kind of difficult with the screen on. We'll meter here and on this inductor. Yeah, we're getting let's see if it's going up. I got 3.52 and in climbing 3.5, 2.8, 2.9, 5.53, 0.531. So it's definitely charging the battery on this one. So I guess it is our battery. I guess our battery was the troll the whole time.
Chris?
What?
Oh.
Why'd you say my name?
Just because it's very.
But I swapped this. I mean, that's the thing. I swapped this into this housing and checked to make sure that was the problem.
Maybe it's the TriStar.
It may have been TriStar initially, and then we also had a bad battery.
You want to put that battery back in and
I want to make sure though that it charges while it's on. So this is not booted. So the other one will charge while it's off. So if this hasn't booted yet, I'm not going to call it fixed. We are charging right now, and the other one charges also when it's off. So I want to make sure that I get an image that it is charging. And now I want to see that it boots and it turns on. Kind of interested as to why I don't have a backlight yet, or why I don't have an image yet. I figure at 3.5 volts it would show something. Well, it's not confirmed that it was battery yet, but we'll see. That's pulling some weird ass fucking voltage. Oh, there it goes. I didn't have the battery pressed down. I don't have the screw in the battery right now, so it's kind of free to do as it pleases. I may have lost it. Maybe stuck to the side of the iPad. No, it's over here. Yeah, I got it. So we'll wait for this to charge up some. Alright, so the screw is in. I'm fairly confident the LCD and everything's plugged in correctly. Still haven't gotten an image yet, which is still disheartening. I'm fairly confident I didn't blow the backlight on this thing, because I disconnected the battery when I was doing it. But who knows? Main C, main copies. What? Does anybody know what voltage that you can see image on? Like on the screen of these? I would think 3.5 would be enough to show something. It ain't showing shit. I know it works though, because it was booting earlier with this screen on it. I haven't done anything to the screen to make it not work. See if I can find a rag here to wipe the screen down. It's the dirtiest shit. Yeah, I don't have any image on there, so I don't think our image is any type of backlight or anything like that. Let's see where our voltage is at now. It's hard to get in here with this screen in the way. So 3.615 and climbing. I'm just gonna wait and see if it actually shows the logo whenever it boots. It's a lemon, but an apple. Welcome all the new viewers. This is probably going to be the most boring stream of your life. We're at 3.635 and climbing still. 3.7 volts should be the point in which this will turn on, but we'll see. Still not getting a logo on the screen. I don't think we're getting any image yet, so what's up, Lynn? It'd be my luck that it's somehow fucked up. Let me see if I do a reset on it real quick. Still no image. I don't know. It's weird. So this may turn in from a charging issue to a no image issue. See if I blew anything on the board for some reason. Let's disconnect these. I'm gonna take everything off real quick and make sure my connectors look okay. Make sure I didn't fuck something up there. Connectors look alright. Oh, I see. Yeah, I crushed the Dagon filter here. I think. I don't know how to do that. We can replace that, that's no big deal. It's a LCD data line connector, or filter. Yeah, I crushed it. I guess I pressed, maybe this connector was not centered or something and I pressed down on it or something. I don't know. That's weird. I'll replace that. That'd be why we don't have image. So you all get to see some board repair, inadvertent board repair. Grab me a mini or something. Let me see if they share the same thing. Or grab me one of the air boards out of the bag over there. The bigger ones that have a hole in them. Yeah, those. Well, that one doesn't. But that's an air one, but it should share the same shit. Where's this mini? No, it's a mini board. Let's see what the mini has. It should have something similar. Yeah, these are the same as the iPhone filters. Let's see if the package size is the same size. Looks like it. We'll go ahead and replace that one. I don't know how that got hit. Yeah, I don't know how I hit it either. Maybe I nicked it with my tweezers or something, Paul. So we'll put a little bit of flux on here. I'm going to use my hot tweezers to take this off. I've got the battery disconnected and I've got a piece of plastic in between it so it doesn't go anywhere. Okay, so that's off. So one thing about working on this stuff, don't ever be like upset or angry or whatever if you mess something up like that. I mean, most of it can be fixed. Just try to learn from it and try not to make your same mistakes. Don't repeat them. See if I can lift this all at once. There we go. So I'm going to take this filter. We're going to drop it back on this. See which side looks correct. That's the bottom, so we want the top side here. Orientation on these doesn't really matter because they're straight through filters. They have the same resistance on both sides, which should be pretty much nothing. Sorry if that's out of focus. We need to recenter this some more. It's not exactly perfect. Okay, so that should be good. We'll check continuity on that. We'll clean it up. I'm not sure how it got destroyed, Paul. It's really odd. I would think if it was off that much that I would have crushed something around it, but I don't know. Like I said, maybe I hit it with my tweezers or something when I was doing something. Things happen when you're not paying attention sometimes. So we got that on. We'll make sure that we've got continuity through. Okay, we've got continuity through now. Let's check our connectors. Maybe there's some indication what happened here. Yeah, I don't see anything that really looks out of place there. Like nothing looks like it's been crushed. Who fucking knows? That should work though. I mean, these can be a little bit of a pain to connect, but they're not that bad. So pull this. Let's see if we get an image now. Yay, we got an image back. So now I've got a battery logo that says it needs to charge. So, like I said, no fretting over it. If you break something, most of it can be repaired. Just fucking figure out what you broke and replace it. So we'll go ahead back to our charging here. So you all can see, I don't know if you can see it or not. The charging logo is there in the center of the screen. Let me see if I can move it down some. So there's our logo right here. So I know, Alex, I'm probably gonna kill myself after this stream. Man, stuff happens. I fuck up FPCs like it's nobody's business sometimes. Like I'll melt the shit out of them with my iron. I won't be paying attention and it'll just graze it and melt it. I've got to replace them again. Happens all the time. Alex, would you like to be one of my moderators? I know it's tough in here with all these trolls. Scotch tape. Actually, you know what's funny about the Scotch tape thing that everybody's making a big deal about? If you look at some of the professional guys, like some of them don't have the platter tools. The platter tools to fit in between the housing and the platters, so they have to use tape pretty much to lift that shit out. And I've seen some guys that do this stuff in their basement, and they do the same exact thing, and it works. I mean, if you tape it off well, the platters won't move, and it transfers easily. They make platter removal tools that look like a large, like, I don't know, like a large socket. The platter sits here and it slides around, and then you turn a key at the top and it grabs the sides of them, and then it's got a hole in the center so you can undo the screws and pull it out. But when you don't have those, you don't have the space. I mean, Scotch tape, as long as it's sticky enough, seems like a good solution. If it falls apart, I mean, you fucked yourself, but obviously it holds pretty well. So we're still waiting to see when this one turns on. Let's see what we're up to now. And we're still charging logo. Yeah, the 2.5 inch platters. It seems like there's just not enough room for the platter clamp, the thing that they make. I don't know how you would get in it. The larger ones, there's plenty of room, but yeah, especially to really Tarman though. This you can buy a full hard drive like platter swap kit. They're like $200. If you want some really nice like head uh, pre-made head separators and stuff, those can get a little pricey. But you can find if you look on eBay, you can look for hard drive head spacers or something like that, and it'll give you a kit that has a bunch of different kind in it. There's some that I've seen. If any of y'all are interested in hard drive recovery, there's a guy here on YouTube. His channel is called HDD Recovery. Really smart guy. He's been doing this for a lot of years. Um, you should go over and sub to him. He's pretty interesting to watch, but he's got all those tools, and he's got custom made, I guess, or maybe even a company makes them. Like these tools that lock into certain areas and like slide over to separate the heads. It's pretty cool shit. Yeah, the HDD surgeon stuff. They take a lot of the eBay kits that I've noticed and just put them together and then charge more for them. Like you can find those same kits on eBay for $200. So who knows? Like it looks like the exact same shit too. It's not like it's a knockoff or something. Like it looks like the exact same tools. It wouldn't surprise me if they don't fucking just take something that they find in China and mark it up. Let's look at this link. Okay, yeah, those are the CNC'd ones. Yeah, he has some of these. Those are really cool. See, he has if you go on the data recovery accessories, and then the repair workbench, I think is the one yeah, the repair workbench that they have there for 270. You can get that on eBay. It's 270 euros too. You can get that on eBay, same exact one with the platter swap piece and different head combs, like the ones to separate. I think it's like $270 or something like that. And it's the same fucking thing. Yeah, you can sell Scotch tape on eBay, Alex, for $200. I do it all day. I mean, how do you think I'm so rich? Ha 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 ha. Chuckle, chuckle. Shut the fuck up, Micah.
Oh, one.
The older style platters have more space, but the SSDs they'll tend to have longer longevity. I think the predicted lifespan, like they've stress tested some SSDs, and if you did like 30 terabytes of transfer every day, every day of the year, no breaks, constantly, it would last like 67 years. Who the fuck keeps their laptop 67 years? I mean, some of these data recovery places, people that do data recovery or not data recovery, data storage, especially in stuff that needs to be archived, they actually still use tape. Like they still use like your cassette tape style stuff. That's kind of what it is. They still use tape reels because the shelf life of it is much longer and it can store a shit ton of data. Let's see if Alex has linked me to the kit that I was listing. I know he has. I know it's gonna be it. Oh. Fucking goddamn, $8 for some filters. Jesus Christ, people buy those, Alex? Oh shit, Jessa.
Just
I know. I'll fit perfectly in with the Tennessee people, won't I, Jessa? I'm happy you're here because I've checked every line that you've told me to check, and all of them seem correct compared to a board that charges correctly. So, the battery sense line reads the battery voltage all the way to the filters right before the PMIC. The voltages around the battery SWI MOSFET on the iPad Air 2, they all read the same on the good board and the board I'm working on. And then the OVP, the overvolt protection low line, reads exactly the same on the bad board versus the good board. So right now we're currently charging this one on a different battery. I don't have one pre-charged, so it's been kind of boring. Also, Jessa, we're gonna have to teach you the two-step since you asked for it. I'm hoping. Are you wanting to do line dancing two-step, or are you wanting to do couples? The ports. Hold on one second. See if I can fucking finagle this around without destroying it. I might have to pull the screen. Let me disconnect the battery and stuff. Hard to do this with the screen in place. She already knows how to two-step it. Then why'd you ask me to teach you? Well, there's two different types of two-steps. Do you want to know the country two-step, or you want to know the hip-hop two-step? We can play that video for you here shortly. So, charging port soldering, that's what my port looks like. I've done this one 3 times now. And then the actual pins on the connector, I re-tacked them down. I don't know how bright this will be. I'll have to see once it focuses in. Oh, let me adjust the contrast here because it's kind of shit. My microscope doesn't deal well with the auto exposure level. Alright, so there's the pins. I reflowed all those to make sure that they were good. Alright, and then I'll have to readjust the exposure. Alright, so I'm fairly confident the port's good. Is there a dubstep two-step? Paul, I don't know. I worked at a bar for a long time that played a lot of rap and techno and dubstep music. So for being a white guy, I have some rhythm. So there may be one. I got all that rhythm. Other side of the port. Are we talking about underneath of it? Let me pull it out and see here. Alright, so the back side here, obviously they don't put much there, but that's all the pins that run underneath. The actual battery connector looks okay. Got a little bit of, looks like guitar pick residue there. But there's our battery sense line there. It looks okay. Get some dirt stuck to the bottom of it. But the port itself, I mean, it's level. So I'm not sure. The opening side, let me see. There's the actual opening. So I mean, it's a brand new port. The pins look good in it. Not spray, not spray paint Lewis's shop. So I don't know. I'm pretty lost on this one at this point. I'll put it. I need to charge this one up separately. Let me see if I can get this battery charged up enough real quick. Whip out my handy dandy charging cables for iPad Airs. The battery that's in the other one has enough charge for it to turn on, but I really want to make sure that that's the battery itself is not the issue that I'm having. I've got a nice little charging cable kit that came with this China kit. That screw is not long enough because this thing's fucking huge. Let me see if I got a longer screw over here that'll work. Yeah, that's the only thing that I was worried about, Jessa, with the whole painting something. I felt like somebody was gonna take it the wrong way and fucking end up vandalizing his store. So we'll let that charge. I'm gonna clean up some of my flux here. I need to run it through the ultrasonic. Jessa, do you have a? I know you fixed that board earlier, and the iPad Air 1 and 2 share the same exact layout, it seems, most part, except for like the battery SWI line. I think that the Air 2 has a MOSFET in line that is used on, I think it's the same MOSFET they use on the iPhone 6, but the bonus prize is getting arrested for vandalism. I don't know about that one, Paul. You're talking about the battery or the USB MOSFET? Just I jumped the USB MOSFET to make sure. I even took it off last night and actually just used my probes to jump it to see how it would act, and it would do the same thing every time. And I also jumped the battery gate too, and it did the same thing. Unless you're talking about the MOSFET down here for the battery SWI line. I can jump that one also. Let me find. Jump all the things. Okay.
Jump them all. Boy.
We can jump them all. We can make that happen. So far, 2 batteries. I don't think I have a third one here to test with. We may. I'll have to check in the back, but I don't think I do. Alright, flux. Get out of the fucking way. My Q-tip wanted to be in on it. I found that the Air 2 boards tend to take a lot more heat than any of the other ones. And I'm not sure if it's because they have a much larger ground plane or what it is. TriStar on this one is an absolute nightmare, but the TriStar on the other models is not. Like on the iPad mini is easy to get off. Like this one just eats up. If it ever fucking melt. I may have to turn my heat up for this one. I know TriStar on this one takes forever to lift. gonna have to turn heat up. Alright, so I need to look and see. Let me set this off for somewhere I'm not going to lose it. See on the CXW which line goes to what. The Lonely Q-Tip. Sounds like a good book, children's book.
The Lonely Q-Tip.
The Lonely Q-Tip. Alright, so let me see, how should this be jumped? What the fuck is going on here? Well, I'm trying to get my hotkeys to work, but they're not working. There it goes. So this should go straight through to that side. So we don't need the voltage side of it. We need the straight to the PM or straight to PMIC. All right. I gotta get ZXW down on my other computer, that way I can swap back and forth easier. I'm gonna use just a little bit of wire. I've jumped pads with just solder, but it's kind of a pain at times. You have to get rid of all your flux to really get it to allow you to jump real well. And then it's still not very consistent. Okay. Let's break our line off here. I've already bent the end of my tweezers, which is great. Makes it next to impossible to do anything with them. Yeah, the very end is bent, so I can't grab anything. Well, I bent the shit out of it that time. There we go. Might be. Alright, so let's see what happens now. I'm just going to put it back in the frame that I know boots on it. I'm not even going to put the screen on. I know this one boots up. I've watched it boot up several times now. I just want to know if it charges. Yeah, same thing with it jumpered. It was at 1.5 amps, or 1.2 amps, excuse me, when it was booting up, and now it's at 0 amps after it boots. I can show you if you need to, but it's pretty consistent what it's been doing the entire time. I've also noticed, Jessa, that if you're still on here, that if I plug in the charger before it's booted up, it will recognize it on the PC, and I can sync it to iTunes, and it'll show that it's charging, and it'll actually recognize when I unplug it and plug it in, but it won't charge. It's just false charging the entire time. If I let it boot up completely before I plug in USB though, and I plug in USB, it will not sync and it will not show that it's charging, and it acts like the USB is not even there. I'm not sure why that is, because I would think if it was TriStar, it would be consistently either seeing the USB or not seeing the USB. Okay. The current sense line on these, Jessa, I mean, I'm sure you know, from this point goes over to, oh shit, where was it? Here. So the battery sense line goes to there. Let me switch back over. So battery sense comes up through the 0 ohm resistor, and then runs, it's got a resistor that's 499 ohms that goes down to bat VCC. If we meter these with the battery hooked up on the center pad here, which is where that no stuff capacitor is between the two resistors, this is our 0 ohm resistor. I metered that. It does read 0 ohms. This resistor here is supposed to be 499. I metered it. It reads 495 or something like that. And on the center point here between the two, it reads battery voltage 3.79 or 3.8 volts, depending on what the battery level's at. The only other place that goes from there is PMIC. So I really hope it's not PMIC, since these lovely bastards are underfilled. Not terrible, but I'd rather not have to dick with it. So I'm really confused on it. A good board versus this board when the screen comes on. Okay. Let's see if this is charged up enough yet. So we'll put our good board back in here. This is the housing it originally came out of. If not, I'll put it in the gold housing and retest it. Let me hook up the screen. What the fuck did I do with my cable? On the floor. Alright. Pull that. Okay, battery secure. Let's see if it's charged up enough yet. It's still not charged up enough. It's closer, it's 1 amp. I may just swap it over to the other housing. Probably smarter. Less bullshit. Showing the Apple logo now because I've disconnected the battery. Let's see if it'll boot up. I doubt it will. Nope, shut off. Because it's not charged enough yet. Should go back to the Apple logo again. Let's air back to the charging logo. Let's see. Yep, back to the charging logo. Jesse, you should let me come up there and actually help you teach one of your classes one time. I'll be your mark for the weekend. I've only been to New York once, and literally it was pretty much a drive-through. We never really got to stop anywhere. We drove near New York City, and that was an absolutely terrible idea because we got there around everybody's time to get off work and sat in traffic for about 4 hours. And that wasn't even downtown, that was on the outer loop around it. I've been a few places up there though. I've been to Maine. Maine was pretty cool. We went and saw Plymouth Rock. My dad and I used to tell this story all the time, but my mom was so excited because she was going to get to see Plymouth Rock, and she made this really big deal about it, about going to see it. And we weren't, I mean, we wanted to see it, but it wasn't like, oh my God, we have to see Plymouth Rock. But I mean, it's historical. It's something in our history. It's important. But she made this huge deal about it, and all right, so our iPad's on here. We're still pulling a full amp, even though battery percentage is about 50%. Let's meter that section here. Motherfucker. But anyway, she kept going on and on about, we gotta see Plymouth Rock, we gotta see Plymouth Rock, and we were kind of tired and getting hungry, so we stopped to eat somewhere, and she's like, oh, it's right down here, why can't we just walk down there and go see it? And so we all walked down there, and everybody's gathered around this railing, and we couldn't figure out exactly what they were doing. And we realized that's where Plymouth Rock was. So I'm expecting, what does everybody here expect when they think of Plymouth Rock? What would you expect, Micah?
A rock?
I know, but Plymouth Rock, what's in your mindset when you think Plymouth Rock?
Just a big ass rock.
How big?
Like, I don't know, size of this room.
Okay, a rock the size of this room. What's everybody else think that Plymouth Rock would be? God damn it, Lewis is live streaming.
Losing all your views, Chris.
So Plymouth Rock, and Lynn is correct. Plymouth Rock is about a boulder the size of maybe 4 foot long by 2 foot wide, and it's not even probably 2 foot tall, and it's got a date inscribed in it. Who knows if that's even the real one? Maybe they just engraved something on a rock and threw it out on this next to the ocean and said that was it. I don't know. It was pretty funny. It made, you really have to be there because the biggest deal that my mom made about it, and when we saw it, we all just started busting out laughing because of how big of a deal she made about it. So, the line here on the battery sense line, my battery voltage is 3.9. My battery sense line is 3.85. So, it's about the same of what it was reading before. The screen is off right now, but we're still pulling an amp. And that's still reading 3.85, and battery voltage is 3.913. Let me see what it meters on the actual input side of the battery. 3.85 on the battery input, 3.85 on the battery sense. So that's the same reading. So battery sense, in my opinion, is reading correct. I know he is, Paul. I know he's on live. I'm probably gonna either switch over and watch him. I might have to go home soon. We gotta cook dinner and stuff. But at this point, I'm not really sure what's causing this. I'm about to the point where I may just send it off and see if Jessa wants to mess with it, or somebody else at least put their eyes on it, and maybe I'm missing something. Yeah, well, it depends on what time of the year you go, Tarman, or how big it is. You have dry season, you have a wet season, so more rain, more water. But anyway, thank you all for all watching. Jessa, thanks for joining us. Lynn, thanks for joining us. Thank you for everybody that came back that normally watches. I'm gonna go over and beat my head on the wall some more about this iPad. And if any of y'all are on the micro soldering or the intro micro soldering or anything and have any ideas, I'm gonna try doing a backup and restore just for the fuck of it. Who knows? Maybe something in the software is fucked up. I don't know. At this point, I think I've measured everything I can. But go check out Lewis's stream. Whenever Jess is on, check hers out. And like I said, go check out HDD Recovery. His stuff's really good. Really enjoy watching him. STS Telecom is really good too. That's Jason. His stream's really good too. If you really want to learn this stuff, I enjoy watching everybody. And you all have a good night. And I may see some of you all in Tennessee.